Good day everyone. My part is discuss about Eastern Visayas literature. Eastern Visayas composed of the island of Samar, Leyte, Bilaran, and the smaller outlying island. In terms of the political division, it is made out of 6 provinces: Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Samar, Bilaran, Leyte, and Southern Leyte. City of Tacloban is the major center of trade and commerce and education in the region. According to the Sugpo 2015 literature, and Eastern Visayas refers to the literature written in Waray and Cebuano by the writers from the region. So, the literature that written of Waray and Cebuano, the writers is coming from that region, but the stated of according to Sugpo. Waray literature that has been collected, recorded, and documented by the scholars and researchers. But the earliest accounts of East Visayan literature date back to 1868 when Spanish Jesuit by the name Father Ignacio Francisco Alzina documented that the poetic forms just as kani si Father Ignacio Francisco Alzina siya ang nag-document sa isa ka poetic nga forms daw of kandu, haya, ambahan, kanogon, vikal, balak, siday, and awit. Father Ignacio also described that susumatan and pusong early forms of a narrative. But the interest of German priests managing the University of Tacloban City, who saw that necessity of gathering and preserving the literary heritage of the region, it is delight whenever East Visayan literature is written about. It is usually Waray literature that is being described. Okay, next one is theater tradition was very much in place in the performance of poetry, rituals, mythic dance. So it is in a theater poetry, that performance ritual, ilahang ginakuan Diyos is ang mythic dance, ritual mythic dance. And for the dances meant the joy and activities of the ancient warriors. So ang dance murag mao ni ang ilahang activities na nagpakuan sa ilahang kasiyahan sa mga waray. And there are 3 centuries of Spanish colonization and another period of American occupation. Old rituals, poetic forms, and narrative had undergone reinvention, like balak, a case in point of poetic love just between a man and a woman. So of course, inabalak siyempre murag kaniang gamiton sa laki para magkuan siya, mag-showing siya love, murag siya mamisita sa isa ka babae. And according to Calbardo, the balak retained its form even as it took new names and borrowed aspects of the language of the colonization. So bisag ka nang mahatagan siya lain nga pangalan, but it's also form, or it is also a language, or it's also called balak, even though nga mahulaman siya nga lain siya matawag na name. And for the Spanish period, the balak was called amoral. But during American occupation, it was renamed smiling. So, Spanish period, the balak was called amoral, but during the American occupation, it was renamed smiling, a term derived from the English word smile. According to literary investigators, in certain areas of Samar, balak form of smiling has been reinvented to express anti-imperialist sentiments, where women represent the motherland and the man, the patriot who professes of his love of country. Modern East Visayan literature, particularly Waray, revolved around poetry and drama, produced between the 90s and the present. For the flourishing of economy, local appearance publication, so nindot kuan sa local nila para makuan nga murag ma-publish. So starting in 1901, the publication of Kaadlawon, the first Waray newspaper. So murag that time nga starting 1901 nga first na nakaproduce o nakapublish ang Waray nga newspaper. So for the fiction in Waray has not flourished because of the lack of venue for publication. So very understandable kaayo kay maybe lack of walay klaro nga venue, walay nindot nga venue, so dili kayo sila maka-publish sa fiction of Waray. So that's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Catherine M. Mengo. So my assigned topic is to discuss the Central Visayas literature. Central Visayas is right in the center of the Philippines. The four provinces include Cebu, Bohol, Negros Oriental, and Siquijor, each with its own character and treasure trove of natural and man-made attractions. Negros Oriental, Cebuano Sidlakang region is also called Oriental Negros. Eastern Negros is a province of the Philippines located in the Central Visayas region. It occupies the southeastern half of the island of Negros. With Negros Oriental comprising the northwestern half, it also includes Apo Island, a popular dive site for both island and foreign island. So, like other islands in the Visayas, both sides of Negros have beautiful beaches and attractive places of interest. They both possess towering, maintains volcanoes, severe lakes, and spectacular dive sites. Negros Oriental, the side facing Cebu Island, has our maintained volcanoes falls and cares waiting for exciting explorations. So now, let's tackle about the language and dialect of Central Visayas. Cebuano, or sometimes known as Visayas, is the language of province spoken by 95% of the population. Hiligaynon is spoken by the remaining 5% and is common in areas close to the border with Negros Occidental. Filipino and English are generally understood and are used for official, literacy, and educational purposes. The religion there is the Christianity is the predominant religion in the province with Roman Catholicism as the highest single denomination. Other denominations include mainline and evangelical Protestant groups. The next is their population. Negros Oriental's total population as of the 2000 census. Now let's tackle about the Festival of Negros Oriental. Sinulog de Jimalalud, Simalud, or an about January street dancing and pageants to 11 Festa. Tawo-Tawo Festival, Barnawan, Cebu, December 22 sees dancing with occupy highest in the before Festa celebrations, the guardians of the city's crops. Filipinos don't realize that victory is the child of struggle, that joy blossoms from suffering, and redemption is a product of sacrifice. Waray literature that has been collected, recorded, and documented by scholars and researchers. Its oral lore includes folk songs, tiguhan or riddles, simaling, and susumatun or tales. So patriotic verses were produced due to the resistance of both the Spanish government and American colonialisms. Sugilanon or short stories and novels were also introduced. Its written literature in the forms of essays and satirical and humorous poetry, which were published in newspapers. It includes poetry written by the New People's Army of Samar and Development of War. I Trauma gave way to their version of Moro Moro or Hadi Hadi and Sargilas. That's all. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. So, before we start, let me introduce myself first. I'm Miss Dayan Rose Cucuraza, and I'm from BSED English 3A. So, I know that we've already done from the past reporting that the Eastern and the Central Visayas, and now let's proceed to Western Visayas and let's know its literature. Without further ado, let's start. So welcome to Western Visayas literature. Let's know what's the literature of Western Visayas, and let's know who's the writers, the famous writers of Western Visayas literature and its content. Hiligaynon. So Hiligaynon is the lingua franca. So Hiligaynon is the lingua franca of the Western Visayas. So lingua franca is the common language of the Western Visayas to communicate to communicate. Just for example, English. So English is the lingua franca of um, us, the different countries in uh, countries in the world. So it is our common language to understand each other. That is an example of a lingua franca. So Kiniraya or Hiniraya is their mother language. Okay, so Kiniraya or Hiniraya is the mother language. So the mother language means the mother tongue. For example, is the Bisaya is the mother tongue here. And let's proceed to the early forms of literature in Western Visayas. It is the ambahan, the balak, paktakon, hurubaton, and haya. Let's know its meaning. So, the ambahan is the unrhymed syllable line containing a complete thought. So, it is the ambahan, the unrhymed syllable containing a complete thought. I think it's like a poem. Yes. So, the balak is a love song, which can also be a song of praise sung by a man and a woman. I know that we are all familiar, or I think so I'm familiar with this balak because it gibalik-balik siya. I think it's kon pa siya, existing siya until today, until now, because ginagamit siya in courtship, in courting a girl. So patakon is a riddle. I know that we are all familiar with a riddle. Kanang patagnaon siya. Hurubaton, a proverb that we can see in a book, in a Bible. That's a proverb. Ano? So hurubaton is a proverb. It's like a saying or in a Bible or in a book. So haya or a degree. So let's proceed. So according to Derrida in 2015, the popular literary art forms of Western Visayas include the following: binalaybay or poem, paktakon or riddle, sugidanon story or folktale. So sa tuwa kay sugilanon. Yes. So hurubaton or proverbs, asoy or epic, amba songs, and kumpuso or traditional songs. Sa atua or and us kaning murag familiar ra siya, no, parehas ra ta og mga art forms here in our place. So as you can see here, as the Spaniards came and the conversion of the people to Christianity brings us or enables us to produce new forms of literature, and that is new forms of literature, and that is written literature and religious literature. In written literature, it also started with translation of Spanish texts, prayers, and lives of saints. And in religious literature, it flourished in the time in Spaniards' time. Ning boom siya in Spaniards' time because Spaniards are nagbring sila og Christianity. That's why ning boom ang religious literature sa Spaniard time. So in the American colonization, they saw the golden age of the Hiligaynon literature. Because although na Spanish or Spaniards ang orientation and the instruction is gipakita na nila ang ilahang best, gipakita nila ang ang Hiligaynon literature. So the EDSA Revolution in 1986 is an important milestone in the history of Hiligaynon literature. Why? Because of the new management of the CCP, or the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Cultural Center of the Philippines. And the creation of the Presidential Commission for Culture and in the Arts, which later became the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. New writings and new writers have been born. The CCP and NCCA have been truly the people's patrons of the arts. By paving the way for the creation, the CCP and NCCA have become truly the people's patrons of the arts by paving the way for the creation of regional and local arts council, providing writing grants to writers of marginalized language, supporting workshops and publication, and conferring of awards. Competition likewise have had their share in the ferment of new writing, most significant in the inclusion of the Hiligaynon short story alongside that of Cebuano and Ilocano in the Palanca Awards in 1997. So that's what happened when EDSA Revolution in 1986. Here is the Cultural Center of the Philippines, and later on it became, here is the NCCA. So the EDSA Revolution also ushers in these historical landmarks in the literature of Visayas, literature of West Visayas. The emergence of Kineray writing, the emergence of Aklanon writing, the emergence of writing in Filipino which is Visayan based, the ferment of campus writing in this language, and the emerge of multilingual writing in region. So the important young writers in the West Visayas today include the following: Hiligaynon Alicia Tan Gonzalez, Peter Solis Neri, Edgar Sescar, Resurrection Hidalgo, Alfredo Siva, and Alain Ross. In Kiniraya, Maria Milagro C. Jeremia Lanchica, Alex C. de los Santos, John Erimil E. Chodoro, Jose Edison C. Tandores, Maragtas S.V. Amante, and Maria Felicia Flores. In Aklanon, Melchor F. Sichon, Alexander C. De Juan, and Juan E. Barrios. And that's all for the Western that's all for the Western Visayas literature. I hope that you've learned something from my report all about Western Visayas literature. That's all. Thank you. Bye.